You are all very, very welcome to the world's first ever pension party. Hello, hello, hello. Tonight's a pension party will be hosted by Make My Money Matter and me, Aisling B. Ain't no party like a pension party, guys. Quite literally, because there's never been a pension party before. So can I get a whoop whoop? Guys, I'm just going to have to trust that you did a whoop whoop there, because there's no real way of knowing. A pension party! Now there's a phrase I never thought I'd be saying, but 2020, it's been a year full of firsts. I also never thought I'd be saying the phrase, are you going out for the clap tonight? Because I certainly am. But there I was all April, saying exactly that. Now, money. I like to think I'm good with money. People would say, Aisling, you're responsible with money. A lot of other people would say, Aisling, you're tight, you're stingy even with money. Some other people would say, Aisling, you owe us money. Give me back my money. Aisling, I want my money back. Well, there's a second lockdown on Susan, so you're not going to find me this time round. But pensions. Pensions, I didn't really think was something that was going to affect me. I never thought I'd be the sort of mature person who would have a pension. I sort of associated pensions with the sort of person who might, I don't know, get intimate with themselves on a Wednesday afternoon watching Escape to the Country. But it turns out you should have a pension, and now I have one. I feel very, very smug indeed. But actually having a pension that's doing good rather than doing harm is one of the best ways you can make an investment in the future of this planet and make a big change. Lots of people don't know that their pension is actually invested in butterfly farms and green energy. Lol, lots of people don't know that their pension is actually invested in things like guns and tobacco. You don't even know that that's where your pension money could be going. Guns and tobacco, guys. Fun if you're watching Narcos, not fun if you're living with narcos. And it's really hard to be smug about everything else you do in life, like holding the door open for people or using a metal straw, if it turns out that you're ploughing thousands of pounds into guns and tobacco, guys. And you're with your pension for years. So you should really invest in it the same way you would a romantic relationship. Don't rush into things. Check in on it every now and again to make sure it's going well. Make sure it's not involved with an arms dealer or weapons. I've made that mistake before. Not with my pension, but with my love life. So, I know the phrase pension party might not sound like fun. Maybe the only thing that sounds more boring than a pension party would be taxpayers bingo or something like that. But not only do we have music tonight, comedy, and some wise words from some amazing speakers, some of whom have written books and stuff, guys. So proper nerds. But no person this evening is going to be speaking for longer than 3 minutes, which is the exact same amount of time as old B here likes to make love. And that's also a lot of fun in 3 minutes. So please stay with us, join us. Our first speaker this evening, or thing we're going to see, is Sir David Attenborough. Actually, Sir David Attenborough. We're going to be watching an amazing, inspiring clip from his most recent Netflix movie, Life on Our Planet. The original title of that was Too Fast, Too Furious, when talking about climate change. But then he just kept it to A Life on Our Planet instead. It's all on Netflix, you can watch it.
The living world is essentially solar-powered. The Earth's plants capture 3 trillion kilowatt-hours of solar energy each day. That's almost 20 times the energy we need just from sunlight. Imagine if we phased out fossil fuels and ran our world on the eternal energies of nature too. Sunlight, wind, water, and geothermal. It's crazy that our banks and our pensions are investing in fossil fuel, when these are the very things that are jeopardizing the future that we're saving for.
Hello, it's an honor to follow David Attenborough and a pleasure to be here. Thanks so much for joining us. I took the invitation literally and have poured myself a glass of wine so I can settle back after this and watch the rest. Just to introduce myself, I'm Richard Curtis, guilty of many crimes, from the Vicar of Dibley to Mr. Bean to more Mr. Bean. So I'm here to try and do something right tonight. A huge welcome to all of you on behalf of Make My Money Matter and the Global Goals. I hope this will all be easy and fun, and since one of the key elements of tonight is that everything's going to be really short, I'll be really short myself. Here are my top 5 thoughts for the night. 1, I'm also sorry for certain bits of Bridget Jones too. 2, the revelation about the importance of pensions has been the big change in my mindset this year. As you may know, I started Comic Relief many years ago, which has made £1 billion, and then worked on Make Poverty History and the Live 8 concerts, which moved countries to redirect many more billions to the poorest countries. But the big mystery has always been, where are the trillions going to come from that are needed to really change the world? And it suddenly became clear to me that the answer is, it's invested money. It's the working of sustainable businesses that could be a totally key factor. There's £3.1 trillion in the UK pensions alone, 48 trillion around the world, and it's our money. So 3, that got me thinking that focusing on our pensions is the most important thing we can do. There are pensions and savings, and making sure that they're invested in sustainable businesses and a healthy planet could make the definitive difference. But the big question is, are we shooting ourselves in the foot, or is it feet, if we move into schemes that are only supporting the best ethical businesses? And the wonderful answer is no. Maybe it was the case 10 years ago, but now it's no longer values versus value, morals versus money. The consensus now seems to be that if you get your pension in supporting businesses that work for people and planet, you'll actually make more money. And you'll be collecting your pension in a world that makes sense, not a world on fire where a few extra quid wouldn't help you anyway. So my 4th point is this: whatever you care about most passionately, climate, oceans, animals, justice for women, diversity, equality, this is for you. Your pension power means that you have a share in thousands of companies, and together we can support the best of them and help the others to clean up their act and move faster to net zero and gender equality and all the things we want. Pensions have started pouring money into affordable housing, renewable energy, vaccine research, thousands of brilliant things, and we can all be part of that. It really is time for pensions with intentions. Which brings me to point 5. This is the reason I actually got into all this. It was this woman. I watched her TED talk, it shook me, I looked into it, and I suddenly found my pension to be the most effective tool to change the world. I owe this to her, Bronwyn King.
Hello everybody, my name is Dr. Bronwyn King. I used to be a full-time oncologist, but now I'm the CEO of Tobacco Free Portfolios, which is a charity I set up in 2010 when I made the accidental discovery that my compulsory pension plan was investing my money in big tobacco. And I'm sure many of you can imagine how sort of extraordinarily disappointed I was when I made this discovery, when I really knew firsthand exactly what tobacco did to people. So from that moment onwards, I've really devoted my life to trying to have the conversation with the finance sector about tobacco. Of course, everybody knows tobacco is bad, but many people will not know that the World Health Organization has predicted that the world is on track for 1 billion tobacco-related deaths this century. I mean, just think about that number for a moment. There's only 7.5 billion people in the world, and 1 billion deaths are predicted from one single product. It's just crazy. So Tobacco-Free Portfolios works with the finance sector to really try to solve this problem collaboratively, because we just can't solve the world's biggest challenges if we all continue to live in our silos and undermine each other without even really thinking about it. Now, the big initiative that we've worked on at Tobacco-Free Portfolios is called the Pledge, the Tobacco-Free Finance Pledge. And we launched that at the United Nations during the UN General Assembly in 2018. And we were very lucky to gather the support of a whole lot of UN agencies. Dr. Tedros Ghebreyesus, the Director General of the World Health Organization, he spoke at our event. We had the head of the UN Tobacco Control Treaty who also spoke. And basically, we were all urging the world's finance sector to reject tobacco. And I'm very happy to say that there's now more than 150 organisations, financial organisations from all over the world that have signed up to the pledge, and they control more than 11 trillion US dollars. So it's a great amount of progress, but there's still a long way to go. Now, when it comes to challenges around this conversation, there's three big ones. Number one is we are trying to shake up the system, and there's always a little bit of resistance when you're trying to do that. Number two, big tobacco is pushing back. And of course, we've expected that, but they've really tried hard to adopt the word sustainable or adopt the word climate and adopt the sustainable development goals. And all of that, according to us, is just nonsense. And our third challenge is spreading the word. Once people hear about tobacco-free and have the conversation, there's nearly always action that follows. And so today, my message to you is, if you want a pension to be proud of, make sure it's tobacco-free. Having a tobacco-free pension is one of the easiest things that you can do to make sure the world is healthy, fair, and sustainable.
And we're back. Thank you so much, Dr. Bronwyn King, for sharing your stories. It is so important to know where your pension is, guys. What's going on with it? As I always say, you wouldn't give money to your friend if they were just going to go down the shop and buy a load of cigarettes and then come round to your back garden and burn down all the trees in it. So maybe you use the same wisdom when you're thinking about who you're giving your money to. Now, next up, we have the amazing Guardian columnist and environmentalist and author, George Monbiot.
All too often, environmentalists give a pretty gloomy picture of the world, and even quite a gloomy picture of the future world. They say, follow us and the world could be slightly less crap than it would otherwise be. But what we also need is a positive environmentalism, which paints a much more positive picture of the future. And rewilding, the mass restoration of ecosystems, is part of that positive environmentalism. It foresees a world which is richer and wilder than the world we live in today. It foresees a world in which degraded places on the land and at sea, which have lost many of their species, which have lost their rich ecosystems, can be brought back to life once more. And not only can this mass restoration, which is already happening in some parts of the world, not only can it help nature to recover, it can also draw down a lot of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere as trees grow back, as peat marshes reform, as salt marshes and mangroves and seagrass beds, they all lock up a lot of carbon which has already been released by people. And so in conjunction with leaving fossil fuels in the ground and decarbonizing our economies, rewilding can help get us through the greatest crisis that humankind has ever faced. In fact, it's very hard to see how we can get through that crisis without drawing down some of the carbon that we've already released. That's a necessary part of our response if we're to escape more than 1.5 degrees or even 2 degrees of global heating. So by using money better, by taking it out of extractive industries, which are destroying the living world, destroying ecosystems, wiping out wildlife, and putting it instead into the mass restoration of nature, we can both save the living world and protect ourselves.
It's actually never occurred to me before that my pension could be something that would create change.
That's the dream, yeah. Tell me about it.
I would wonder why I hadn't been told about it already.
It doesn't sound like it can or should work.
I think most people don't know what their pension's investing in.
It'd be good to know more about the companies that my pension is being invested in, whether they're doing good in the world.
Who are they? Who are they run by? What are they doing? Where are they?
What? Invest in these?
You're reading it's like a list of horror. Making weapons and ammunition, it's a no-go.
Cigarette companies, coal mines, oil companies, gambling, no way.
I feel like something better could be done with my money. Oh, well, there you go. That is a stunning list of good things. If my pension went to these things, that would be a wonderful, wonderful thing.
Social housing, infrastructure like schools and hospital.
I would definitely want my money to be invested in building wind farms, tackling climate change.
And companies that treat their workers well. This is my kind of list.
And I, as a kind of customer, can feel, first of all, better about where my money is going, but also you would assume that those pensions would do actually quite well, probably make more money ultimately.
It would make me feel better in some small way that the things that I believe in, the things that I think are important and are important to me are being reflected in how my money is being used.
I would probably go so far as to say I would increase my pension contributions.
Yeah, I'm going to go make some calls and I'll leave here.
Now I'm going to run back home and check.
Understanding that the money could be working and obviously working to contribute to a better world. That's pretty amazing.
Hello everyone and welcome to the best pension party in town. I'm David Heyman, I'm the campaign director at Make My Money Matter and we are super excited to have you here. Now, our campaign is all about making sure people across the UK understand more about where their savings might be invested and helping them do more with their money. As you can imagine, it's this kind of chat which makes me the most popular guy at all the parties. Now look, you've heard already tonight about how that could mean avoiding certain companies which might make people feel uncomfortable. Yeah, that's you Aisling. I think you might have been watching a little too much Narcos this lockdown. But look, we're also really keen to stress that UK pension holders invest in some of the best businesses across the world, and having a pension to be proud of can make sure that happens more and more and more every day. Your pension, yeah, yours, can be investing in brilliant things, from wind farms to affordable housing, from medical research to new, clean, green technologies which are creating real jobs across the UK. You can be part of the success of the best new companies. You can be investing in green cement, in companies that give schools high quality local food, in affordable healthcare, in recycling. The list of these companies changing the world is growing every day, and you can be part of funding that, their growth and their success, helping deliver the SDGs and looking after the planet, all the people on it, making money, changing lives for the better, the list goes on. And the extra superpower of our money is that we actually become shareholders and stakeholders in some of the biggest companies in the world. That means that our money, our pensions, also influences the behaviour of companies we invest in. So from carbon reduction to workers' rights, closing the gender pay gap to ensure more diversity on boards, our pensions have the power to affect how companies are run and make sure that they're building a world we actually really want to retire into. We've seen incredible success of people power in transforming big organisations from within. In the past year alone, investor pressure, and that's from you, from all of you watching, has led to the introduction of net zero emission targets at major companies, supply chains finally tackling deforestation, and commitments to pay the living wage to workers. Pension funds, empowered by this consumer pressure, can help drive better, cleaner, more sustainable businesses around the world, and that's what we want to see. So look, your pensions can be such a positive force for changing the world in so many ways, and we want to thank you so much for joining the rest of this journey with us. Enjoy the party.
For those of you who've just tuned in, welcome to the best pension party in town. It wasn't hard. It's the only pension party in town. But yeah, you have a lot of power. That's what I'm realising. When you know where your money is going and you choose where your money's going. Do you give it to the money-grabbing banker guy in Mary Poppins, or do you give it to Mary Poppins? Don't give your money to Mary Poppins. She was so weird when you think about it. What a weird... She'd probably turn your money into a bird or something. She was so weird. So bad example. Do not put Mary Poppins in charge of your investment portfolio. Strange woman. But I tell you who's not a strange woman. Our next speaker, who is an amazing author and activist, it's Scarlett Curtis.
Hi, Make My Money Matter Pensions Party team. My name is Scarlett Curtis. I am a writer and activist. I curated 2 books on feminism and mental health, and I run an activist collective called The Pink Protest. We work on campaigns around issues that affect young women in the UK. We did a campaign around period poverty, where we changed the law to get the government to give free menstrual products to all girls in school. And we worked on a campaign around FGM and lots of different other things. I think the thing that I really want to say, I don't have much to say. I'm largely here because of nepotism. My dad runs this campaign, but also my dad has never read either of my books, so maybe I'm not here because of that. I think the thing that I would say is I became involved in activism when I was living in New York, and I got very involved with a lot of grassroots activists that were working in New York around the time that I was there. It was particularly around the time of the 2016 election. And I think at that time, I'd always thought of activism as like these big gestures, or people that give up their whole lives to, you know, stand on picket lines or tie themselves to railings. And though that is activism, but activism can also just be a way of life. It can be a way of thinking about the world through the lens of what can I do in my everyday life with the limited time that I have to make the world a tiny bit of a better place. And sometimes that can be something as simple as picking up a piece of trash off the street, or signing a petition, or texting a friend to make sure that they're okay, or donating money to a charity. But it can also be companies making it easier for people to do good in their everyday life. I truly believe that when given the chance, people want to make our world a better place. Most of them really do. Most of them want to help out, they want to do good. And I think the reason I'm such a big supporter of Make My Money Matter is because we need doing good to be easy. We need to be able to put our money, put our finances, but put our whole lives into things that don't make our world worse, but actually make it better. So I would just say, make activism easy, make it a way of life, and do whatever you can at any point in your day to make the world a better place. None of us have enough time. None of us feel like we're getting it right. We all feel like we're messing up all the time. But doing something little is much better than just giving up and not doing anything at all. Enjoy the rest of the event with lots of people much cleverer than me. Bye.
If we aren't careful, things will unravel fast. Huge changes in geography could put huge pressures on humanity. As usual, it all comes down to money. If all our money was invested with an eye on right and wrong, we could stop everything unraveling, protect ourselves from the ravages of climate change, we could end extreme poverty, we could fix our world before we get wiped out. If you have a bank account or a pension, you're powerful. You can make your money matter. You can make the people who look after your money invest it sustainably, in fact actually help the planet and all of us who live on it. Google Make My Money Matter. It's incredibly important. Yeah, a little help here, please.
That was Martin Freeman's woolen penis talking to us there. And if there's anything that will make you stay focused and awake in the middle of a party, it is Martin Freeman's woolen penis. Because boy oh boy, do I feel focused and awake now. Martin Freeman's woolen penis. That must have been some 10 minutes of knitting by whoever did that. But he's right. We all do have to start making sacrifices. We've already, cut down on travel for obvious reasons. I myself have stopped traveling to my friends' kids' birthday parties for environmental reasons, of course. Now, if you are wondering, hey, I wonder what's going on with my pension, I should check it out because I've been so inspired by what I've heard this evening. Here's the website you can do it on: makemymoneymatters.co.uk/net with the little dash thing and then a 0. I mean, it's written here if we have the budget on graphics somewhere. But next up is a snippet from a brilliant speech from MP David Lammy all about race and the climate crisis.
We need a recognition that the climate movement is not only about protecting the planet, it is primarily about caring for the people who live on the planet. Globally, as well as nationally, we need to recognize structural imbalances and inequalities. It is people of colour who are more likely to suffer in the climate crisis. This is no coincidence. The cheapest housing tends to be next to the busiest roads, and many of the lowest paid jobs are in the most pollutant industries. People of colour consistently lie at the bottom of the housing, educational and employment ladders. This story connects black communities across the world, from London to Lagos to LA. The New Deal the economy needs is not only green, it's green and black. Now is the time for black and climate movements to come together unequivocally and say, we can't breathe.
Now, just a reminder of why we're here this evening, guys. Not just non-stop lols with me. It's also to remind you about the power you have to make a great change in this world. There are £3 trillion in the UK pension pot. 3 trillion. That's an actual number. I'm not, just because of my accent, saying it wrong. 3 trillion. 3 actual trillion, guys. That's enough money to fund the NHS for 5 years, or to buy a one-bedroom flat in London. Lol. Property jokes. We all love them. But yes, imagine if that £3 trillion was taken and invested in things like green energy, affordable housing, or companies who pay their workers a proper living wage. The power we would have if we made that change with our money, and you have that power. So please go to Make My Money Matter or makemoneymatters.co.uk and tell your friends. Every time I say the website, it's probably going to come out differently, but just know that it's written here on the graphics again. Now, who do we have up next? Yes, we have up next 2 amazing speakers. The first is Charlove from B Corp, who's going to be able to tell you how businesses can help transform our planet for the better. And she'll be followed by the wonderful Kenny Omiesi-Egbu, and he's going to be here to talk about his journey with sustainability. So I hope you enjoy.
Thank you for this invitation to such a great party. I have to say, when I heard that there was a pension party happening, immediately I thought of this great quote from one of our B Corps here in the UK, Toast Ale. And they like to say, if you're going to save the world, then you better throw a better party of the people who are trying to destroy it. And I really think that those are some wise words. And it made me think, well, what makes a good party? And definitely music is a key part of that, which is why I want to share a little bit about B Corp's story with you all by way of the medium of a playlist. So stick with me here. I'm going to kind of try and break this down into a series of songs, starting with Good Vibrations by Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch. And the reason why I want to start there is because actually that's how I feel about the B Corp movement. I feel it's full of good vibrations in the market. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with what a B Corp is, B Corps are for-profit businesses that are certified by B Lab. And together they come together as a community of people who are really using and committed to the idea that business can be a force for good. Now, the next song on my playlist is Let's Get This Party Started in Here by the Black Eyed Peas. And the reason why I want to share that is because this party actually did start flashback into the 2000s when a group of entrepreneurs who had built and scaled a business that was full of deep value and purpose met their time of exit. And they were forced to sell their business to those that had the highest offers or the highest bidders. And they went through that experience and they realized that they didn't want any other business leader or entrepreneur to be ever faced with that same situation, which is why they kind of started the B Corp party, B Corp movement. Now, my next song for you is little Justin Timberlake, Can't Stop the Feeling. This is a fave for us here in the UK at B-Lab UK, and I will admit we may or may not have done some flash mobbing to this song at various events we've had over the years. But this, Can't Stop the Feeling is about the growth of the movement, because really what's happening is we're seeing so many more businesses wanting to join this movement and certifying. We have now over 3,600 companies, which will include some names you know well, companies like Patagonia, Ella's Kitchen, Cook Food, Ben & Jerry's. But I also would like to sprinkle in a little bit of Daft Punk around the world, because it's also growing geographically. We literally have B Corps around the world in regions and doing incredible work. Now, my next song for you here is Step by Step by New Kids on the Block, because how can you join this party? Well, if you're working with a business, the idea you can do is take the step of going on to the B Impact Assessment. Now, this is a free online tool, and what it's designed to do is help you understand your performance as an organization in terms of both how you operate as a business, thinking about your governance, how you treat your workers, how you engage with your community, and how you're taking into consideration the environment, but also what you're in the business of doing. In other words, your impact business model. So that's the first step. The second step is to actually go in and change your articles as a business. And this is about making it absolutely explicit that the director's duties, those that are on the board of your company, must be to equally consider shareholders and stakeholders. My next song for you is from Snap, and it's called The Power. And although the original lyrics are, I've got the power, I'm going to just sort of suggest a slight tweak, because actually it's we've got the power. So this isn't just about what you're doing as an individual business. This is really about the power of the community. It's about collective action. So for example, we have 800 B Corps that have made a commitment to become net zero by 2030. But what's really important here is how they're coming together to help each other reach that target through action parties, with working groups on specific business models or specific challenges that they're facing, and generating tools that can be shared and amplified to others that want to join this journey. Now I'm going to change the tone a little bit with a little bit of a final countdown, because I think we always have to remember that in this world right now that we're living in, we are facing some epic challenges. There are a series of emergencies we're all experiencing at the same time: the pandemic, the climate emergency, growing inequality and injustices, which is all the more reason for us to come together, as would be said by the Beatles, because this is a moment that really matters. Business matters. Your money matters. What you buy, where you work, and really importantly, how you save. So imagine the power we all have when we come together, pooling this money together. And I want to end with a very special song to me by Mick Jagger, and it's She's a Rainbow. Now, some people don't know that Mick Jagger actually trained as an accountant, and I do believe accountants can save the world. But I think it's really important for us all to feel the rainbows of emotions that are out there in the world right now, to feel it and recognize it, and also to recognize that there are many, many actions that we can all take. And I would just leave you all with the ultimate rainbow that we should always have in our mind, which is the wonderful colors of the Sustainable Development Goals. So thank you, and I hope we have a great party for the rest of the evening.
I'm glad to be here with you at the best pension party in town. I'm the campaigns director at Tesco, and in my role, I lead Tesco's engagement with the public on the key societal issues that drive trust. For example, packaging reduction, food waste reduction, sustainability overall, including deforestation, climate change, and the likes of it. In this role, I've had the opportunity of viewing what are the most important things, the biggest challenges that we face as a food company. And they're threefold in my view: the future of food, the future of energy, and the future of transport. If I take transport, for example, Tesco, of course, moving things from one part of the country, from one part of the world to the other, we require transport a lot, whether it's for our distribution, the big trucks, or for delivery, the smaller trucks that bring food to your home, or indeed for our customers who come in their own cars to our stores. Actually, Tesco sells the most petrol in the UK, more than Shell, more than BP, more than Texaco. And so we feel that we have a role to play in helping society transition to a transport system that is zero emissions. The same or similar with energy. We use about just under 1% of the electricity the UK generates. And so we have a role as well in the switch from conventional electricity to renewable electricity. And of course, as a food business, we are right in the middle of the conversation about the future of food. And the singular biggest thing we can all do to reduce the environmental impact of the food we eat is the choices we make. A reduction in meat consumption and switching to plant-based alternatives is the singular biggest move that we can make. These are real challenging issues, but there's a lot of hope. There's a lot of exciting initiatives, and I'm proud that I work in a company that's interested in making its contribution to this. As citizens, there's more we can do beyond what our job enables us to do. And in my head, there are 4 main areas that we can help. The energy we use at home, we can now switch to renewable electricity and in most cases save money. The cars we drive, if you have to drive a car, it helps if you can make it electric. The food we eat, I've talked about already, which is to switch to or reduce your consumption of animal-based proteins. And of course, the 4th, what your money does for you, whether it's your ISA, your pensions, or any savings that you have. Engaging with your fund manager, your company pension, or your private pension to make sure that a proportion of it actually is spent on ethical and sustainable initiatives, investments that drive the future we want to see. These are the 4 areas I think that individuals can make a difference. And I don't think that they are that disruptive. They are easy. And in many cases, you get to save money in the process as well. That's all I had. And I wanted to thank you for having me. Enjoy the rest of the party.
This could be the most important minute of your day.
We have been through difficult times and face big problems ahead.
But every crisis contains both danger and opportunity.
You can play your part.
Right now.
Right now.
Please close your eyes. Imagine the better future we could have.
Imagine that future.
What does it look like for you?
For the people you love.
How do we lift each other up
and make it fair?
How do we protect nature
and save our shared home? Picture that future you want.
Now open your eyes.
It's time to talk about the future we want.
There's a monster in my kitchen, and I don't know what to do. It has wicked, glowing eyes and a snake-like tail too, and claws so sharp and beastly they could tear a child in two. It whipped our chalkboard off the wall and knocked over our stew, and it growled at all the bones from our summer barbecue. Perhaps this beast is here to feast, but on what? Or on who? There's a monster in my kitchen, and it's filling me with fear. Oh, monster in the shadows, please, tell me why you're here. There's a monster in my forest, and I don't know what to do. It turned my home to ash to instead grow something new. Feed for chickens, pigs, and cows to sell more meat to you. As our forest disappeared, their evil empire grew. They think they're unstoppable, but we pray this isn't true. The real cost of what they're doing, if only the whole world knew. There's a monster in my forest, and it's filling me with fear. It's putting us all in danger. To warn you is why I'm here. Oh, jaguar in my kitchen, now I do know what to do. We'll eat more plants and veggies, and we'll swap meat for bean stew or barbecue tofu. I'll assemble every warrior from here to Timbuktu. Oh, jaguar in our kitchen, now we do know what to do. We'll stop these deadly monsters so our planet can renew.
Another very strong film, and yes, I said film, I'm Irish, film by Greenpeace there. Now, being ecologically minded is so important. We all know that. I am a big fan of recycling. Sometimes I even just buy new stuff just to recycle it, because I just love recycling so much. Sometimes I even recycle old jokes. Sometimes I even recycle old jokes. Sometimes I even recycle, I mean, you get it. Now, next up we have the actual mayor of actual London town, Sadiq Khan. But if Sadiq Khan's here, then who's driving the tubes? And he is going to be followed by the wonderful Trisha Duffy, who's going to share her inspiring story about how she found out she could change the world just by working out how her money mattered. Please enjoy.
I'm pleased to be able to record this message in support of Make My Money Matter and their fantastic campaigning. Climate change is by far the biggest threat we face today. And that's why, since becoming mayor, I've declared a climate emergency and set an ambitious target of making London a zero-carbon city by 2030. In London, my administration has worked closely with boroughs to help them remove their pension funds from companies that damage the planet. And globally, along with the Mayor of New York and the C40 group of cities, we've marshalled a further 10 major cities to join us in agreeing to divest their assets. The reason we're doing this is very simple. Our pensions are an investment in our future, so they cannot and should not be used to support industries that threaten our planet. If you have a pension, please do find out how you could get involved with supporting the Make My Money Matter campaign. Thank you very much.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for asking me to be part of this, and anyone watching at home, it's possible for you to do something really positive with your investments and your pensions is really the main message I want to get across. So my story with this starts a few years ago, about 5 years ago, when I was very, very fortunate to be recruited to help Albert, which is the sustainability project for the television industry, with their strategy. And I'm still to this day the strategy advisor to Albert, which I'm very, very privileged to do. And in Albert, we look at all the ways we can support the industry as a whole to reduce its emissions and its waste, and to have a positive impact and inspire sustainable living on screen as well. And in the course of that work, I remember about 3 years ago, it must have been now, I saw Christiana Figueres talk about all of the things that you can do as an individual to reduce your impacts. And one of the things that she mentioned, along with, you know, switching off your tumble dryer and eating less meat, was if you really want to do something difficult, she said, you can look at how your pensions work for you and explore divesting out of fossil fuels. So that's where I got the initial sort of thought about this. And so I started to just do a little bit of anecdotal research, really, with finance directors and pension trustees in our industry to ask them how difficult it would be to do that. And really the feedback I got was pensions are an individual choice, Trisha. It's not something that's that easy to do. So actually I put it in the too hard bucket, and we were pursuing so many other options at that time and so many other areas for change that we decided to leave it to one side. But I did have a little bit of a kind of a bee in my bonnet about it myself. So I contacted a financial advisor and I said, I want to divest my pensions. I want my pensions out of fossil fuels specifically. He said to me, you're already in the ethical fund. I said, no, you don't understand. I don't want it in the ethical fund. I want something more than just tobacco and arms. I want it out of fossil fuels specifically. So it took a long time. It was very, very complicated. I have a bunch of pension pots from various different employers over the time, over my career. But in the end, we managed to do it. And anecdotally, I can tell you that my husband did not divest his pension like I did. And when the pandemic hit, my pension has continued to make money and his lost for a while there. So, you know, you can draw your own conclusions from that very unscientific data point. But as far as the TV industry is concerned, the very exciting thing is that we are now working together to try and see whether we can build a industry movement to try and get other organisations to move. And some have already converted, I know, and have made the pledge. So it's a phenomenally exciting initiative, and I'm very, very proud to have been part of this journey.
Thank you, Trisha. And it's true, if you have a pension, you have power. Now, next up, we're going to be talking to two of my people. And by my people, I mean the youths, the young people, the cool kids, the kids who are making waves online, the youths. That's me, guys. So here to talk to us are the wonderful Alice Tapper, who's going to be talking to us about finance, and then Besnama Wayeb, who's going to be talking to us about fast fashion. Fast fashion, woo! It's so fast, it's blown away! Bye, fast fashion!
Hi everyone, I hope you're enjoying the pension party. My name is Alice Tapper. I'm the author and founder of Go Fund Yourself, and I'm also a campaigner. And today I'm going to be talking a bit about financial literacy and what that means for sustainable pensions. Money isn't everything, not having it is. And whoever said money can't solve your problems must not have had enough money to solve them. The questionable financial wisdom of Kanye West and Ariana Grande. Money touches just about every aspect of life. So it's unsurprising that how we spend, earn, and think about it are major themes in music and pop culture more broadly. Money matters, and it always has. To quote Oscar Wilde, "When I was young, I thought that money was the most important thing in life. Now that I'm old, I know that it is." But aside from picking up the sometimes dubious financial wisdom of our favourite hip-hop artists, how should we really learn about it and get to understand how to make good financial decisions? Maybe you were lucky enough to have parents who taught you the basics, but most don't. As it stands, financial literacy is unfortunately a privilege we have to be lucky enough to inherit. But this isn't just an education problem, it's a social issue too. The research is clear. Financial literacy not only makes us better savers and less likely to fall into problem debt, but financial illiteracy can also account for a significant proportion of wealth inequality in society. And the impact of the financial education gap doesn't stop there. This isn't just about adulting or knowing that being on the electoral roll is the quickest way to improve your credit score. True fact. This is an issue quite literally of global importance. If we don't understand this stuff, and let's remember many aren't aware that pensions are even an investment, then we're not equipped to make decisions about this stuff either. So someone makes those choices for you. And in the context of pensions, that can often mean a choice that isn't in the best interests of you, society, or the planet. Financial education in schools, great. But that really is just the start. We need employers, regulators, pension providers, and financial services as a whole to want to empower and equip their customers to make better choices. That's how we're really going to make money matter. The best pension party in town, thank you so much for asking me to share this message, and everyone, I hope you enjoy the rest of the evening.
I'm Vespa Wabe. I write the sustainable fashion and lifestyle blog Curiously Conscious. Yeah, I think there's systems that we are part of, like banking, like insurance, pensions, obviously, just aren't something we question about in terms of sustainability. I started writing in 2014 and I was really more concerned around the products that I was purchasing and bringing into my home, and specifically at the time it was food. What food am I putting into my body? What nutrition is it giving me? But also, what effect is it having on the environment when it is grown? What happens getting it from field to fork to my plate? What happens, you know, with the waste, and where does that go when we put it in the bin or composting, or looking at just different ways of approaching food with a bit more respect and understanding the impact that it has. That took me into other topics, you know, looking at beauty products, looking at fashion, and my wardrobe and fashion is still the main topic that I discussed today. But understanding these supply chains makes you feel like there's something real and tangible that you're bringing into your home, whereas money doesn't really feel like that. It's on a plastic card, it's in an imaginary account, you don't really think about it, but actually it's having an effect every day, and where we put that can either go towards sustainable practices and a sustainable industry, or it can be in its current state where, you know, it's funding things that potentially you wouldn't want it to fund. That was the thing that really scared me. I don't want to be funding fossil fuel or extraction of oil from the ground or fracking. I don't want to be funding tobacco or other industries that I would find harmful and wouldn't want to talk about or say that I support outwardly. So let's make a change on that one. When it comes to the actual fashion side of things and my realm of influence, I talk more about fashion as somebody who just loves investing in really great pieces, wearing beautiful items, but you know, it affects everyone. Fashion is democratic in that we all wear clothes, and clothes go more than just being, you know, they're more than just our personal style. They're also something that ties us together. Think about your school uniform or your office attire, or what you wear to work, whether you're in a hospital or you work on a farm. There's so many items of clothing that we wear for function, and even this year with masks, they have impact on what we do and the groups that we're part of and how we identify each other. But they also are so critical to the planet and to people.
Shout it up, shout it up. Live it up, live it up. Got to right now. Shout it up, shout it up. Come on, baby. Live it up, live it up. Hey, hey, hey. Do your thing. Just do your thing. Do your thing. Do your thing. God is you, take you higher. Hey, do your thing. Hey, just do your thing. You got to do your thing. Watch out now, do your
Hello and you're welcome back to the Pension Party 2020. It's really important we talk about our futures, guys. I think a lot of us don't think about our futures enough. The only time I sort of think about my future a lot of the time is when I get a new debit card and it says that it expires in like 2025, and I'm like, whoa man, 2025, whoa, that's a lot. So next up to talk to us about futures are one of my great pals and guilty feminist herself, Deborah Frances White, followed by Christiana Figueres, who, among many of her accomplishments, is the fact that she helped negotiate the Paris Climate Agreement, which anyone who knows me will tell you that that is one of my favourite climate agreements. Oh, so nifty, so lovely, and the penmanship on it, just delightful. And that is a real achievement, because I know what it's like to even negotiating the bill at the end of a group dinner. And no, Peter, I'm not going to pay for your sagaloo just because I had a bite of it, and I know I was the only one drinking, and we're all splitting the... Anyways, please enjoy these two queens.
Hello there. How wonderful to see you at the best pension party in town. Cheers. Don't you look wonderful? And so do I. There's a lot of sparkle going on, I'm aware. Now, recently, I was doing the Guilty Feminist podcast because I'm Deborah Frances White and that's how it works. I have to. And I had some people on from Make My Money Matter. And they explained to me that the money in my pension was in fact real. Now, before that, I think, well, I'm a feminist, but I thought that money that wasn't in my wallet or in my bank account wasn't really real. It's kind of invisible out there. I mean, is it a thing? Is it a thing? It's more of a concept, isn't it? No, it's actually real. It's a bit like bricks and mortar. If I owned a flat and I rented that flat out to some tenants, and then it turned out they were cooking crystal meth in the kitchen and selling it to local children, and that's where I was getting my rent money from, I would need to do something about that. I couldn't just go, oh, well, what are you going to do? I'd have to evict the tenants, and I certainly wouldn't accept their crystal meth children money. My pension is like that, and so is yours. You put money in. If you've got a pension, you've already done that. And it's out there somewhere, and someone right now, this moment, is doing something with it. Now, I'm a feminist, but I love a party frock for a Friday night. And years ago, I might have bought one that cost £7.50, and that is called fast fashion. And I learnt that was very bad for vulnerable women. And if I'm a feminist, I don't want to do that. So I stopped doing that. But here's the thing. It's very possible that the money in my pension is doing that. Somebody's investing my money right now in fast fashion. So what I need to do and what you need to do is go and ask the people who have your pension and say, excuse me, that's my money. What are you doing with it? Because if you're investing it in things that are bad for women, bad for the environment, and then giving that back to me with profit when I'm old, I don't want that. It's my money and it's going to work the way I say.
Hello, friends. I am certain that by now we have all understood the simple but very powerful truth that where finance goes today, so goes the world tomorrow. Every pound invested today has a lock-in effect because it locks in the attendant emissions of the characteristics of that investment for at least a decade, but very usually beyond this decade. And it is precisely in this decade that we understand that we have to be able to cut greenhouse gas emissions globally by 50% by 2030 in order to be able to avoid a dystopian world of constantly increasing physical destruction and human misery, and be able to open the door to a world that not only avoids dystopia, but actually a world that is much better than the world we have today. It is healthier, it's safer, it's more efficient, and it is certainly better quality for everyone who will be here. The decisive decade has never been as clear to us as at this moment. That is why it is so critical that you be active and intentional about your investments. Any savings could either be contributing to the dystopian world at a high risk of losing the value of your savings, of contributing to unprecedented economic stress, and certainly of accelerating unimaginable human pain and suffering. Or if you ask your asset managers to be responsible about where they invest your savings, then you can reap a double benefit. You can protect the market value of your savings because those instruments that are already into the low carbon space and being led by ESG are already now under the stress test of COVID that we have been showing that they are actually performing much better than the ones that continue to be in the irresponsible spaces. So you can protect the market value of your savings, but also you can protect the ecosystems that support human life on this planet today and tomorrow. My friends, simply put, the impact of your savings has never been greater, ever, This is the moment to decide where do your savings go and tell your asset managers where you want your savings to go. Put your money where you want the world to go. It is as simple and as powerful as that.
Welcome back to the best pension party in town. It's literally the only pension party in town, guys. Time is charging on and we are charging with it. So thank you very much for sticking with us.
Well, look, the party is nearly over. Like all parties I've ever been to, I'm ending up drinking tea, not wine. We just want to really quickly sum up and particularly just tell you, what we'd love you to do tomorrow, really. So can I very quickly introduce you to the two people who've done all the work, David Heyman and Hannah Shah. Hannah, which was your favorite bit and what should people do?
Well, I think my favourite bit was the only knitted person at a party, the woolly man. If you can't have a knitted Martin Freeman at a party, then it's not a party as far as I'm concerned. And then I just thought it was really great to hear from some fantastic people about their activism and how money is important in that way.
So favourite thing's got to be Char's playlist. It's phenomenal. I'm not sure they would be on my party selection, but I've got total respect for anyone who wants to tell the story of sustainable businesses through the medium of Justin Timberlake. You can't question that energy. But on a serious note, I think building off what Hannah said, it was so interesting to hear so many brilliant speakers talk about how influential our money can be. And that's from food to fossil fuels to fashion. Our money isn't just sat in bank vaults in Switzerland, slowly accruing interest. It's actually building the world around us for better and for worse. And it can lead to some big contradictions, which we've seen tonight. Contradictions between people doing brilliant things with their day-to-day lives, but undermined by their money. And be that vegans investing in factory farming, you've got peace campaigners investing in arms, XR members who we speak to day in, day out, who are shocked to find out that their pensions are actually going to some of the worst polluting fossil fuel companies. So whether or not you agree with the merits of investing in each and every one of these industries, I think you can't help but deny there's a problem here, a problem between kind of the day-to-day actions we're each taking and the impacts of our money. And that's why we set up the campaign. That's why we're so excited to be here to tell this story to so many of you tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I've recalibrated where any money that I've got is, and the thing I'm finding so exciting is all the brilliant things I am now investing in. I really, there are so many good, exciting businesses that actually need more money. That's been one of the thrills of the campaign, learning about affordable housing and all of those things that, our money is going into. Hannah, we've been at this now for a year. What's been your highlight?
Oh, too many to count, Richard. But I think my favourite was probably being on the Guilty Feminist podcast a few weeks ago with my hero, Deborah Frances-White, who was also amazing at the party. And actually, the great thing that came out of that was a number of women who've been writing to me since saying, "Hi, I heard you on the podcast. I'm such a fan. I've changed my pension now because I've realised the power that my money has." And that's just made me really happy.
Awesome. So after that, Hannah has become known as the influencer on our team because she's inundated with these emails, which none of us else get. I think for me, the most exciting thing is just seeing real change happen. Hannah's talked through the individual change that we've seen, but with big businesses and big NGOs coming out in support of the campaign, committing to make their money matter and aligning their corporate pension schemes with their values has been great. So you've seen BAFTA, WWF, Oxfam, Save the Children, BNP Paribas, big organisations coming out and committing to join the campaign to align their pensions with their values. We've also had two of the biggest pension providers in the UK, Nest and Aviva, commit to net zero targets. We've had BT's corporate pension scheme, the biggest corporate pension provider in the UK, come out, commit to net zero. So we're seeing real tangible change for millions of people around the UK, and that's super exciting for all of us here.
I mean, that's so brilliant. So, like, to sum up the end of the party, as it were, the party gift, but the opposite, what we would like the gift of the party to be. Can you guys just tell me, what would you like people who've watched this, been convinced, are interested to do, as it were, tomorrow or this month?
Yeah, well, look, by COP26, which can be held in Glasgow next year, a year from now, we want all pensions to be committed to net zero. And for that to happen, we need businesses to come out in support, look at where your money is invested and make commitments to align that with your values. And so if you're a business owner or an NGO, come and speak to us and find out how you can do that. If you're a big pension provider, you've seen this is possible, now is the moment to take action. Sign up, make a commitment, commit to getting to net zero emissions, and that's how we can really make sure that all the money in UK pensions is building a better world.
Great. And if you're an individual who turned up because you think some of the party guests look cool in your virtual party bag, I'd like you to take away, one, the fact that you've seen changes possible, the fact that you've heard from some brilliant activists, the fact that there are £3 trillion invested in our pensions, and the fact that you have the power to change that. So I want you to go to our website, write your pension provider, tell them to go net zero. And if you don't know where your pension is invested right now, email your HR department, say, I've been to this great party and I want to find out where my money goes.
Well, great. I mean, it's lovely for something to come of a party apart from a heartbreak and a hangover. I'm really grateful for everyone who's watched, hugely grateful for everyone who's taken part. I think we're all searching for things that we can actually do to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, to actually achieve, justice and fight climate change and achieve the equality that we all long for. And this does turn out to be a kind of magic bullet. And so I really hope that you'll join us in the campaign to make pensions that we can be proud of, pensions with intentions. And thank you so much for coming, and let's, change the world fast.